Imagine you have $1 in your pocket. How much can you buy with it in Africa? Well, it depends on where you are. In some countries like Zimbabwe or Sudan, you can get thousands of local currency units with only $1, but you can barely get 1 or 2 in others, like Libya or the country of today's topic. Why is that? What makes some currencies stronger than others? And why is the Tunisian dinar the strongest currency in Africa? In this video, we will take a closer look at Tunisia, a small but resilient country in North Africa that has managed to maintain a stable and valuable currency despite many challenges. We will also see how the Tunisian dinar affects the country's economy, trade and development. But before that, welcome to Habari Tech, your hub for African industrialization, geopolitics, economics, mega projects and so much more. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. If you're new, please subscribe and make sure you hit that like button as more people can then see this video. Now, into the video. The Tunisian dinar is the official currency of Tunisia, a country of about 12 million people located on the Mediterranean coast between Algeria and Libya. The dinar was introduced in 1960 after Tunisia gained its independence from France. It replaced the franc, which was the colonial currency used by the French since 1891. The dinar was initially pegged to the US dollar at a rate of 1 dinar for $2.38. However, in 1971, Tunisia decided to switch to a basket of currencies composed of the US dollar, the French franc, and the British pound. This allowed Tunisia to adjust its currency exchange rate according to its trade partners and economic conditions. Tunisia is one of 5 Maghreb countries in North Africa, along with Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania and Libya. The Maghreb region shares a common history, culture and language derived from Arabic and Berber influences. However, it also faces many political and economic challenges, such as authoritarian regimes, social unrest, migration and regional integration. Tunisia stands out as the only country in the region that has successfully transitioned to a democratic system of government after the events of 2011. Tunisia's economy is also relatively diverse, that relies on agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, mining and services. So how does the Tunisian dinar compare to other African countries? Well, there are different ways to measure the strength of a currency, but one of the most common is to look at the exchange rate against the US dollar. The US dollar is used widely as a reserve currency and a medium of exchange in international trade and finance. Therefore, a high exchange rate means that one unit of local currency can buy more US dollars than another unit of local currency. According to this criterion, the Tunisian dinar is indeed the strongest currency in Africa as of 2023. $1 US can only buy about 3 Tunisian dinars, while it can buy more than 100 Cape Verde escudos, more than 60 Gambian dalasis, more than 20 South African rands, or more than 10 Botswana pulas. But why is the Tunisian dinar so strong? Well, there are several factors that affect the value of a currency, such as supply and demand, inflation, interest rates, trade balance, foreign reserves, and monetary policy. In general, a currency tends to appreciate when there is a high demand for its supply, when there is low inflation, when there are high interest rates, and when there is a trade surplus, when there are foreign reserves, and when there is a tight monetary policy. Apologies to stop the video if you're enjoying it, but it is with great pleasure that I present to you Habari Tech's Patreon. We've been used to diving deep into Africa's stories for over 2 years now. Now it's your chance to do the same to Habari Tech. Unlock behind the scenes content only available on Patreon, gain exclusive voting rights for video topic ideas, and also weekly shoutouts for special members. With 2 tiers, there is a tier for everyone. Join now through the link in the description. Thank you, back to the video. Let's see how these factors apply to Tunisia. Demand and supply. The demand for Tunisian dinars comes mainly from exports of goods and services such as clothing, textiles, agricultural products especially olive oil, mechanical goods, phosphates and chemicals, hydrocarbons and electrical equipment. Tunisia's main export partners are France 24.8%, Italy 17.2%, Germany 13.8%, Spain 3.95%, Libya 3.43%, United States at 3.43%, Netherlands at 2.24%, Switzerland at 2.08%, Turkey at 1.59%, and the United Kingdom at 1.51%. The supply of Tunisian dinars comes mainly from imports of goods and services, such as textiles, machinery and equipment, hydrocarbons, chemicals and foodstuffs. Tunisia's main import partners are France 14.9%, Italy 13.2%, China 9.39%, Germany at 7%, Turkey at 6%, Greece 4.53%, Spain at 4.04%, Algeria at 3.3%, Azerbaijan at 2.48%, and the US at 2.9%. The demand and supply of Tunisian dinars are relatively balanced, as Tunisia had a moderate trade deficit of about 6% of GDP in 2021. Inflation, a staple in the world of economics. The inflation rate in Tunisia is relatively high, at 6.53% in 2022. This means that the prices of goods and services are increasing faster than the average income of the population, eroding the purchasing power and reducing the real value of the currency. However, Tunisia's inflation rate is still lower than some of its neighbours, such as Algeria at 8.5% or Egypt at 11%. The interest rate of Tunisia is also relatively high, at 6.75% in 2022. This means the cost of borrowing money is high, which discourages consumption and investment, but also attracts foreign investors who seek higher returns on their capital. A higher interest rate also signals that the central bank is trying to control inflation and maintain the stability of the currency. The trade balance is the difference between the value of exports and imports of a country. A positive trade balance means that a country exports more than it imports, which generates income and increases demand for its currency. A negative trade balance means that a country imports more than it exports, which creates debt and reduces the demand for its currency. Tunisia had a negative trade balance of about 15% of GDP in 2022, which is one of the highest in Africa. This means that Tunisia relies heavily on foreign goods and services, putting pressure on its foreign reserves and currency. Monetary policy. Monetary policy is the set of actions and instruments that the central bank uses to influence the money supply, the interest rate, and the exchange rate to achieve its objectives of price stability, economic growth, and financial stability. A tight monetary policy means that the central bank reduces the money supply, raises the interest rate, and depreciates the exchange rate to fight inflation and stabilize the currency. A loose monetary policy means that the central bank increases the money supply, lowers the interest rate, and depreciates the exchange rate to stimulate economic activity and boost exports. Tunisia has a tight monetary policy, as the central bank has raised its key policy rate from 4% in 2017 to 6.75% in 2022 to curb inflation and support the dinar. Foreign reserves. Foreign reserves are the number of foreign currencies and assets that a country holds to pay for its imports, service its debt, and intervene in the exchange market to stabilize its currency. A high level of foreign reserves means that a country has enough resources to meet external obligations and defend its currency against speculative attacks. A low foreign reserve level means that a country is vulnerable to the external shocks and currency crises. Tunisia has a low level of foreign reserves at about $8.5 billion, or only 100 days of imports in 2022, one of the lowest in Africa. This means that Tunisia has a limited capacity to cope with external imbalances and fluctuations in its currency. As we have seen, many factors affect the value of a currency, and they can change over time depending on economic conditions, political events, and global trends. For example, the events of 2020 caused a sharp contraction of its GDP by 8.8%. This reduced its exports, tourism revenues, remittances, and foreign investments, while increasing its fiscal deficit, public debt, and social spending. The dinar depreciated by about 10% against the US dollar in 2020, reaching a record low of 3.5 Tunisian dinars per US dollar in October. However, in 2021, Tunisia recovered some ground, as its GDP grew by 4.4% thanks to the easing of lockdown measures, the resumption of economic activity, and support from international partners such as the World Bank, the IMF, and the European Union. The dinar appreciated by about 7% against the US dollar in 2021, reaching 3.07 Tunisian dinars per US dollar in December. However, in 2022, Tunisia faced new challenges, such as rising commodity prices, lower oil and gas production, and increased energy and food demand. The dinar depreciated by about 3% against the US dollar in 2022, reaching 3.16 Tunisian dinars per US dollar in December. So what can we expect for the future of the Tunisian dinar? Well, different scenarios could play out depending on how Tunisia addresses its structural problems and external risks. According to the World Bank, Tunisia's GDP is expected to grow by 2.5% in 2022 and 3.5% in 2023, assuming a gradual recovery of domestic and external demand and a sustained implementation of fiscal and structural reforms. However, this optimistic scenario could be jeopardized by several factors such as a prolonged pandemic or a new wave of infections that could disrupt economic activity and social stability, a failure to secure an IMF loan agreement that could limit Tunisia's access to external financing and jeopardize its stability, a deterioration of the security situation in the region, and an escalation of tensions with neighbouring countries that could affect trade, tourism and investment, a social unrest or political deadlock that could undermine the democratic transition of the reform agenda. Any of these factors could produce downward pressure on the dinar and weaken its position as the strongest currency in Africa. However, on the other hand, some opportunities could boost the dinar, such as a successful diversification of the economy that could reduce its dependence on volatile sectors such as tourism and hydrocarbons and increase its competitiveness and productivity, a deeper integration with regional and global markets that could expand its export potential and attract foreign direct investment, a stronger institutional framework that could improve governance, transparency, accountability, a more inclusive and equitable development that could reduce poverty, inequality, unemployment and regional disparities, and a more inclusive and equitable development that could reduce poverty, inequality, unemployment and regional disparities. Any of these factors could increase the demand for the dinar and strengthen its position as the strongest currency in Africa. In this video, we have seen why the Tunisian dinar is the strongest currency in Africa. We have learned about its history, geopolitics, economy and exchange rate. We have also explored the factors that affect its value such as demand and supply, inflation, interest rates, trade balance, foreign reserves, and monetary policy. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please give it a like and share with your friends. And if you want to see more videos like this, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. As a last minute gentle reminder, please don't forget we have our Patreon live. The link is in the description. Please join for external benefits.